All right, up front tonight, two high-profile working mothers who have no shortage of opinions on this. Every woman in the country does. Bunny Fuller is editor of HollywoodLife.com and CNN contributor and Democratic strategist Hillary Rosen. All right, a lot of the backlash that started is centered around the fact that Marissa Mayer, as the CEO, came in 6 or 7 months pregnant. It was something like that, right? And then when she had her child, McAllister, she built at her own expense a nursery next door to her office. So she had this amazing luxury of being able to have that. And now she tells her employees, a lot of whom, right, you got to assume are women, working women, that they can't telecommute. So, Hillary, bad employee relations or, I mean, fair and square?
Well, super bad employee relations. First of all, we should note, though, Erin, that the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that an equal number of men work at home as women work at home. So I don't think this is just a mommy issue. It's also a daddy issue. But, you know, Marissa Mayer's problem, I think, is that she came in, she built a nursery next to her office for her newborn, you know, and yet she's telling everybody who works for, you know, that kid at home and those other things you got to do, I want you in the office. I don't think everybody at Yahoo can bring a baby and have it hang out at their cubicle. It's just kind of an out-of-touch thing that a new leader really shouldn't do.
Interesting point, and you know, interesting that both men and women, you know, can work from home. And obviously, I don't know what all the reasons are and whether they're different and whether it's more children related with women or not. I mean, that's a really key question. Bonnie, when you were a new editor at Cosmo, your youngest daughter was born. You brought her to work.
I did.
I mean, that's a luxury. Let's just admit it, right? I mean, most people, you can't.
You know what? Yes, it was a luxury. I had fantastic bosses at Hearst. I talked to them about it. But I was in really a similar situation to Marissa. I had started a new job. I had just taken over as editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan magazine, and I had a lot of work that had to be done, and I was pregnant, and I didn't feel that I actually had the luxury of taking maternity leave. And I'm sure that that's exactly how she felt. She's got 14,000 plus employees depending on her being there, doing a fantastic job, raising revenue, raising the share price, all of which will benefit them. And so she made the decision that instead of taking a lot of time off, she would come right back to work. And she did what was
maternity leave, which is incredible.
But not most women don't want to do that, but she needed to do that in her position, clearly. At least she felt she did. And so she did what was necessary for her in order for her to fulfill her job.
I mean, but I don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Hillary.
Well, and Bonnie wrote a great piece on this today, and I'm a fan of Bonnie's. But I don't think the issue is the whether she was entitled to build a nursery next to her, or whether, you know, it's not superhuman to have come back after 2 weeks from maternity leave. We're not talking about maternity policy. I just find it ironic that, you know, at a tech company, this sort of forward-looking CEO, who everybody said is kind of this new generation leader, has gone back to kind of a 1950s sort of a work policy mentality. If you can't get your employees to be motivated enough when they have stay-at-home work policies, these aren't parents who are taking maternity leave. These are people who are telecommuting, and your problem is leadership and motivation. Your problem isn't kind of outdated policies.
But I mean, isn't it partly, though, what she said? It's the serendipitous stumble. I mean, to use my words, you run into someone when you're at the coffee machine, or you talk to someone at their desk. You're able to come up with more ideas. You get to know people more face to face. And that's the one thing I've learned with all the technology, is that the face-to-face meetings are still the ones that matter the most.
I totally agree with you, and I don't think that this is a return to 1950s policy at all. I think she is doing what she feels is necessary to build a great culture there, to foster innovation, creativity, teamwork. I mean, how can you be a team if you've got hundreds of employees that are all at a distance? And I have an organization too I run at Hollywood Life, and we get our best work done by all being together, putting our ideas together, bouncing ideas off each other. It's exactly what you said.
All right. You know, the one thing that is clear is that we wouldn't be talking about this policy or this HR letter to employees if she wasn't, you know, a CEO in her 30s and a woman. Clearly, there is this double standard. We know there are tough policies that men institute all across the country. Having said that, you know, that she's put herself out there in some risk at this point, I think.
All right, well, thanks to both of you. I can't decide if a man put it out, if he would have been utterly filleted and fired by now, or if no one would have noticed, and which would be worse. All right.
Been noticed.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. May not have been noticed, and that does say something.